You know what? Here's one thing I just want to fucking say, because there's a lot of people who like try to twist and turn and all types of stuff, and like, Dan, like you're such a like a nice guy, and like, and I wouldn't surround myself by people who weren't, you know, open-minded and like kind-hearted. And one thing, and I just kind of want to talk about this, is there are extremists on both sides, and this is also what my album has to do. You know what? I have not talked about my next album at all because it's not coming out until later next year. But one thing that I will say about it is it has to do not only with race relations, but it has to do just, once again, with the equality of all men, women, and children, regardless of race, religion, color, creed, and sexual orientation. Because I believe that we are all born equal, but we are not treated equally. And when there's amazing people, you know, like yourself, and I'm sure everybody in this fucking crowd, because you guys like love these guys, you know what I mean? And what this show represents, is like, when people will try to like pull the card and like flip it, because I believe that there's extremists everywhere, you know what I mean? And even like with Black Lives Matter, for example, right? So when that hashtag was going around, you know, there was people tweeting me and saying, "Why aren't you hashtagging Black Lives Matter? Were you not black?" And it's like, whoa. Like, why would you say something? Like, first of all, that's like the most racist shit, and you're trying to, you know what I mean? And I think that there are extremists in everything, you know what I mean? There's white extremists, there's black extremists, there's this, there's that. And I think, like, for example, like, just to bring this up, like, Black Lives Matter, what that term means, and this is just what it is, represented from the black community, is that there are black men, women, and children being murdered, and, you know, they're just saying, like, we matter too. You know what I mean? That's all it is. And then there's those extremists who would be like, all right, let's go kill a bunch of white cops, or blah, blah, blah. Or the extremists who would be like, you know, on the other side. And I guess all I'm trying to say, and this is one thing, whether you know me or you don't know me, is that I'm here to represent fucking mankind and good people like yourself who can joke around and have fun and respect everyone. So, swag.
And I think there's good people that get good results by like problematizing things that we complain about, like that do focus on language, and you should say this and you shouldn't say that. Be mindful of when you say this or that. Like there are important like goalposts being moved by people who think that way, and there are also horrible vampire people who are like, oh, you can police language? Well, now I just found myself a new bridge to troll under. Like I'm so comfortable here. And I always say, like, the litmus test is if you're doing something that you consider activism, like if it's not just expressing yourself, which should be joyful and easy for everybody, but as a if you are labeling in your own head what you're doing is like speaking truth to power or sticking up for somebody or something like that, just quickly, just a little baby flowchart in the sidebar of your head, like, is what you're doing difficult at all? Are you putting yourself at any risk by saying what you're saying? Right. And it's not to say that if the answer is no, you shouldn't do what you're doing. It's just remind yourself of that. Have that compass on your dashboard next to everything else on your dashboard that should all be yours. But always remember in those moments, like, don't get too carried away, because the people that were acting in racism in the 50s, they were outraged. They were victims. They were underdogs. They thought that they were battling a horrible force that was telling them that they had to eat sandwiches at the same counter as other people. Like, they were doing what was easy. Like, they were expressing like all of this outrage, and it's like we need to, like, that's like the big cane that I shake at young people, is like there's probably a kind of like one for one analog between you and some old white dude in the 50s. Like what, as far as the amount of battle you're fighting with this tweet, like you're
the tweet, the hashtag. That's why I think it's all bullshit, because there's people out there saying, like, when they're like, why don't you do this hashtag? It's like, no, fuck that. I'm gonna go do a whole album about it. I'm not just gonna do it so it lives in the moment to look cool. Like, don't argue with me. And I think at the end of the day, man, once again, like, I like to argue. I enjoy it. I love to have debates and crazy conversations with people about race and politics and religion and fucking my favorite television show or cartoons or anime or Rubik's Cubes or whatever the hell I'm into. But the thing is, like, I love doing that with like-minded individuals, open-minded individuals. Like, you know, when I was young, my mom was super crazy about Jesus, and now I'm like, I don't know if God exists, but I believe in an energy. And there's certain people that would be like, no, fuck you, you're going to hell. Jesus exists. It is what it is. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then other people going, that's a damn shame because people that believe in an energy burnt women in the Salem witch trials, and it's like it's that conversation is about whether or not you should think what you think, as opposed to the other person going, oh, thank you for that information. When I was young, I did blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And then you both go, uh-huh. And then you're like both, your brains are a little bit bigger.
Yeah, like even if you don't agree with someone, no, this is a real thing. Like I've had conversations and they're like, you know, and this is why I've always been kind of scared to have these talks. And that's why I'm excited for my whole next album, because it's not just about black and white and this and that. Once again, it's about everyone. And it's like, I was so scared for so long to talk about this shit because like as soon as you bring up you know, black men and women in America, it's like, oh, what'd you say? And they fucking, you know, every little thing, or this or that, or whatever, or religion, you know, and it's just this like thing pointed at you. And it's like, man, instead of being scared to talk about it, I'm going to talk about that shit and I'm going to bring it up, but I'm going to do it in a way that hopefully educates, especially the youth, and just being open-minded. If you're Baptist or Catholic or this or that, like, and you believe that, that's cool. If you believe that the dude who goes to church on Saturday and not Sunday is going to hell because of that, cool. Just like stop fucking telling them you're going to hell and stop yelling and screaming and like hating. And that's just the shit that's like super fucking annoying to me, man. Just let people live, dog.
I kind of want for those of you, these people that don't that aren't familiar with you. You were describing your last album. You're doing a Comic-Con panel. For your last album, which I got to run and pirate after this. I'm gonna go right to popcorn time.
Popcorn time? Nice.
I'm so old and rich, I don't know how to pirate anymore.
You know what's crazy?
I'm gonna go right to Target.
That shit's like dying. Like honestly, streaming and all that shit is
my
almost
life
dying.
used to be LimeWire. I got every Adobe
LimeWire. Oh, you took it back, dog.
I would just sit there and be like,
Kazaa, fam.
I want to learn Avid. Okay, now I want to learn Final Cut. Now I want to learn Adobe everything. And I was like, boom, boom. And I would sit there as a 27-year-old and I'd go, they know that one day I'll be rich and I'll need to use Photoshop. And I was right. I've given Adobe so much more money than they ever would have earned if I had been like a kid.
That's what I started recording on. I started recording on a thing called Adobe Audition 1.5, which is crazy. And this was like a really shit. Like, I'm not gonna say that's a shit program, but like considering like Pro Tools and all this other stuff. So I did this, and I was on a Yahoo chat, hip hop. It wasn't like some sexual shit. And this guy, I was like, I was 16 years old, and I was on really bad internet, and I said, hey, do you know a program I could use to record? And he says, yeah, I can give you the file right now. And he sent me the file, and he stayed in the chat for 6 hours and let the whole thing download. And if it wasn't for that, honestly, I wouldn't be here. Yeah, that really changed my whole life.
That man's name?
I fucking have no clue.
It's fucking Suge Knight.
Suge Knight. At Yahoo Messenger.
Say what you will about Suge. He'll fucking be there for you for the download. He gets a lot of fucking bad press.
Sugar Bear.
But he'll walk you through that shit.
Yeah, no, he dangled a producer out over a balcony for me for 3.5 hours. It wouldn't have, if he had pulled him back up from the hotel balcony at 2 hours and 45 minutes, the whole thing would have been lost. It would have been like your mom getting on the phone when you're downloading in the 80s. All right.